Greetings, ladies and gentle beings, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tribble Timewarp. It is the 21st of January, we are looking at the 18th of January build, and it is good. However, it does have a few problems. We'll start with an audio bug. Listen to the phaser and melee sound effects that you can hear at the moment. Note the difference in volume when the camera went through the bulkhead. I think that's because the game is processing the audio from your character's perspective, not the camera's perspective, which is something that probably ought to be tweaked. It does sound a little bit odd. Much of this mission hasn't been changed. He's out of the danger zone. Huzzah! Probably shouldn't have taken an F-15 into it in the first place. There have been tweaks to this mission since it first released. For example, in a rather welcome one, Lieutenant Thelis is finally displaying the backbone required of a Starfleet officer. Those of you who've played the original version of that mission will remember that he was somewhat panicked in that dialogue. A bug that's crept in here is that those two Borg drones should have beamed out when I finished interacting with the console, and instead they haven't. They're just standing there. How did that creep in? I mean, I can't think of any reason that would have been touched, but never mind, it has. However, they do still materialise here and leave via the hull breach. Fast forwarding to the next bug that came up, this has been here for a while. That hole in the hull I ticketed back in the open beta, or at least its final stages. Let us quickly dispose of these cyber zombies, because there's little of note here. Much of these missions haven't changed, which is why I'm cutting out large chunks of it, and we'll just leave you to fend them off. I don't know why these two officers have suddenly lost their guns. I can only assume that a couple of security officers came up short and dragged them into a darkened Jeffreys tube somewhere. Again, no real changes here. The only thing that's altered is that you now have officer name reporting for duty when you bring up the customization window for the first time, which you will see when we talk to Chief Sherman here. In fact, the only reason I'm even re-recording this bit of content is because I decided to look at the revamped and remastered SS Azura mission with a clean character. I missed the bit in the patch notes that it's scaled to your levels, so I decided to do it with a level appropriate tune. Plus it didn't hurt to check out the new player experience with a new player. Anyway, let us move on to the space section. There's a change here, and I'm not sure it's a good one. You'll see when we get through this dialogue that you almost immediately get the option to beam survivors. The radius for this has got up to about 6 kilometers. Now, given that this is designed to test your movement abilities in space, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And since I'm in a nitpicking mood, shouldn't the Kelvin's registry be NCC-0514- some letter or other? Probably D or E, given that we're 200 years on from the Abramsverse. And yes, I'm aware that the Kelvin was destroyed in the Abramsverse, but it was still serving in our Starfleet at the divergence point, blah blah blah. Basically, it should have that number in our universe as well. There might be copyright issues, I don't know. Like I say, I can get really pedantic sometimes. Another little pointer is here, the firing weapons advice dialogue. There's no mention about right-clicking to toggle auto-fire. Now, given that the RSI caused by having to repeatedly hammer the spacebar to fire your weapons was a major complaint back in the early days, it might be worth adding this to the tutorial for new players. Not really a bug, more of a suggestion. Anyway, let us finish off the Borg drones. Wait, we appear to have run out of Borg probes. Oh, there's one. Let us go full impulse, full impulse, full impulse. 2 contacts pop in point blank, drop back. Is that just a factor of low population and respawn times? I do not know. This isn't a bug, I just thought it was cool. Wham! Now, I suspect it was just a fluke of where I had the camera and where I had my ship when the sphere blew up and the cube warped him, but oh boy, it was effective. I actually jumped a little despite the fact I knew it was coming. So from a new player's point of view, oh yeah, the Borg are back. Anyway, I have no idea why the Borg feel free to stuff their ships full of highly explosive plasma, or indeed why the plasma apparently has a very, very high sodium content, but they do. Let us head off to what, for the moment, is still the old Earth space dock. This is under a revamp, and that will be the subject of a movie to follow very, very shortly. But for the moment, it is the old version, and I will leave it there. I will see you next time.